So I just got back from vacation, and while I'm very happy to be home, that means that my inbox has been inundated with a plethora of emails. And one of those emails brought to my attention an anime take that I thought was relatively common knowledge, but apparently isn't. But it does bring up some rather interesting talking points revolving around Naruto and its upcoming live-action movie. See, for those of you who don't know, a couple of years ago, Lionsgate bought the rights to Naruto in order to make a live-action movie, possibly series, of it. And just a couple of months ago, some huge news came out regarding said Naruto live action. And that's that I was gonna be the director. I'm kidding, I'm not gonna be the director. It's gonna be Destin Daniel Cretton, the director of Shang-Chi. And while I got on my knees and begged to help with the writing of this live action, basically what I got back from Lionsgate is we don't need you. Mostly because apparently Destin Cretton has a direct line to Kishimoto. That is to say that this story is going to be written by Destin Daniel Cretton and Kishimoto, which is about as good as you could ask, considering the fact that Destin Daniel Cretton is a big-time director. I've never directed anything in my life, and Kishimoto wrote the story. But even with that roster created to bring Naruto to the big screen, there's still some definite concerns revolving around the live-action adaptation, mostly as it pertains to the fact that the live-action adaptation is gonna be a movie and not a TV show, as it seemed to be established somewhat recently that TV show adaptations seem to be the meta for anime live-action adaptations, as both One Piece and Avatar did it to successful payouts. And yet, somewhat head-scratchingly, both Naruto and One Punch Man are heading in the opposite direction, opting for a movie adaptation. And thus, assuming that we're not going to get 10 Naruto movies like it's the new Fast and Furious, that means that Naruto is going to have to be cut down and condensed. And while a lot of people have come to grips with that reality, apparently not a lot of people have come to grips with the reality Naruto is also gonna need to be changed. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, in both the Avatar and One Piece live-action adaptations, things were changed to bring the stories into 2024. And most of those changes revolved around acceptability. Nami is dressed less skimpily. Sokka is made less sexist. And most of these changes are being made because A, a lot of time has passed since these IP were originally created, and over the course of that time, morals have changed, and B, because the Japanese palette for things is different than the American palette. And thus, on top of Naruto needing to be condensed to fit in a movie format, a lot of things in the story are also going to have to change. But a lot of you are probably saying, but Nick, there's no blatant sexism in Naruto, and nobody's running around in bikinis. And you're right, there is no blatant sexism. Nobody's running up to Tsunade or Sakura and spitting on them and saying, go back to the kitchen. But there is problems with the original story of Naruto, especially when considering adapting it to a 2024 Hollywood film. And the majority of those problems revolve around Sakura. See, Sakura has been, and still kind of is, one of the most hated characters in the entirety of the Naruto universe. But why? Well, anybody who makes hating on Sakura part of their personality will give you a large list of reasons. Though the three major ones are the fact that she bullied Naruto as a child, she's too dependent on Sasuke, and when it comes down to battles, she's relatively useless. And while all three of these points, well, at least two out of the three of these points is addressed by the end of Naruto, well, it's safe to say that since Sakura's character development arc wasn't well received in 2002 when the anime first came out, it'll be even worse received now in 2024 to an all-American audience, because America as an audience is relatively over the damsel in distress complex. And thus, if Sakura in the live-action adaptation is a bully to Naruto who isn't able to fight her own fights and is entirely dependent on somebody who's borderline abusive to her, not only are people going to hate her as a character once again, but also it's gonna make the movie lose a lot of personal interest. So how do you address this? How do you fix Sakura? How do you bring her into 2024? Or do you cut her from the story entirely? Well, somewhat surprisingly, there's a legitimate argument made for either approach, whether it be cutting her from the story or adjusting her to fit in a more modern telling of the story. And today, we're gonna talk about both of those arguments, because today we're talking rewriting Sakura for the live-action Naruto adaptation. But before we get to talking about anything, guys, please, for me, like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you guys are feeling particularly generous, go ahead and follow my other channel, The Weeb Commander, where instead of talking about Naruto and Boruto, I talk all other anime and manga. And if you just like the idea of me talking about anime and manga, go ahead and follow my anime podcast. I talk as anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime and manga this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if you want to see me live, come on down to Comic Palooza, Memorial Day weekend, May 24th to the 26th, where I'm going to be doing 6 panels in Houston, talking anime, becoming an anime YouTuber, and so much more. So, Sakura. Like a bad haircut, unfortunately heading into the live-action adaptation, the only two options we have with her are either to fix it or to cut her. And while to a lot of you, the obvious choice in fix it or cut her is fix it. As crazy as it may sound, there is some legitimately good arguments for cutting Sakura from the story if you're adapting Naruto into a movie adaptation series. And while that sounds incredibly unwoke and like I'm hating on Sakura, genuinely I'm not. See, because I find it a slightly more interesting, compelling, albeit less likely possibility, I want to talk about the possibility of cutting Sakura from the story of the live-action adaptation first. See, the base of the argument for cutting Sakura from the live-action adaptation isn't that, oh, Sakura's useless, we don't want her in this movie. And rather, the time that we need to dedicate in order to make Sakura a compelling character on par with Naruto and Sasuke is unfortunately non-existent in a live-action adaptation movie. Also, cutting is kind of an inaccurate word. See, as crazy as it sounds, this proposal essentially boils down to limiting Sakura's screen time, making her a relative non-factor to the story. But why? Why would you do this? Well, objectively, if you look at part 1 of Naruto, Sakura kind of is a relative non-factor. In fact, you could argue that any and all character development that Sakura goes through in part 1 of Naruto is actually a detriment. What do I mean by that? Well, genuinely, if somebody's only seen Naruto and goes, oh, I dislike Sakura as a character, I can't disagree with them, because Sakura doesn't become a likable character worth keeping up with or fangirling for until Shippuden. Basically, all Sakura accomplishes in Naruto, not Shippuden, is being established as one of Naruto's biggest haters, a complete and total fangirl of Sasuke who beefs with her best friend on Earth in order to see who's gonna get his hand in marriage, a ninja with no particular skills outside of clone technique and throwing shurikens, something that's taught to you in the Shinobi Academy, and then a person who tries to use those techniques against an objectively more talented foe in Ino, and then ties Ino in a fight in the tuning exams because Ino does the exact same thing that Sakura does in the Forest of Death when Sakura is able to get a hold of her hair. Cut it, showing that the only character development that Ino and Sakura are capable of in part 1 of Naruto is showing that they're openly willing to deface their cosmetic value in order to win in a fight, even though they both look completely fine with short hair. And don't get it even remotely twisted, there's ways for women to demean their cosmetic value while achieving power done well. Maki in JJK is a fantastic example of this. While Maki gets less and less cosmetically pleasing as she gets scarring, burns, cuts her hair short, she gets more powerful. That's not what's going on here. In this moment with Sakura and Ino in the tuning exams, Kishimoto was basically saying that the only thing that a woman can get over is their own beauty. Like the toughest struggle that a woman could ever overcome is not putting makeup on in the morning. And that's just incorrect. And all of these are plot points that if you wanted to write Sakura into a 2024 format, you would have to address. You would have to make her motivations not centric around Sasuke. You'd have to make her want to be independently powerful, and you would have to make her useful pretty much from the start, meaning you would basically have to do a complete overhaul to Sakura's story, which requires more screen time from Sakura. See, because while you can sit here and say, oh, these are the 3 things you need to change, addressing those factors requires additional plot time. And thus, if you wanted to write Sakura in a way that she deserves to be written, you would have to dedicate more time to her than Naruto does. Because, like it or not, she's got a crush on Sasuke, she does everything to impress Sasuke, and she only gets in the way in the important moments is an incredibly quick and easy and dirty way to write a character. Writing a character well and giving them motivations outside of a crush they have requires more plot and writing than the original motivations Sakura has. And while if the live adaptation of Naruto was a TV show and thus guaranteed to have 8+ hours of content to adapt even just part 1 of Naruto, I would say yes, absolutely you have the time to rewrite Sakura in a way that she deserves. In a movie adaptation with no guarantee of a sequel, the omission of her character development moments in part 1 of Naruto might actually serve to make her a better, albeit less seen, character. Because, and I think everybody can agree on this, though I'm not a woman, so I guess I don't 100% know, most people would rather Sakura not be involved than be involved as a hindrance, as the only important female character in part 1 of Naruto. Because listen, there's stories about boys, and Naruto, especially part 1 of Naruto, is a story about boys. Like it or not, it's objectively Naruto's biggest weakness. There are very few female characters of import in Naruto, and even less moments when those characters of import do anything of import. And that's unfortunate and undeserved, but it's reality. And thus, if we didn't want Sakura to be the OG representation of Sakura that most people disliked, and we already have to cut down and condense Naruto into an hour and a half to 2 hours, the focus of Naruto to the most important part of Naruto and Sasuke's relationship, and cut out out everything around them. And this doesn't just include cutting out Sakura. Cut down on everybody outside of Naruto and Sasuke. Include important plot points, obviously, like Neji and Himawari's relationship, so that Naruto can establish the core part of his personality, which is overcoming birthright, like Neji has. But skip things like Sasuke's battle against the first couple of sound ninja in the last round of the Chunin exams. Skip Ino and Sakura's fight. Skip Choji's fight against the sound cuff guy. If you need to condense the story in a way that doesn't feel rushed and you're trying to adapt 120-ish episodes of canon material into a 2-hour movie, things are going to need to be cut, and Sakura might have to be one of those things. But that is technically the lazier approach, and therefore by far and away probably the less likely approach. See, because personally, if I was writing the story, I wouldn't cut Sakura, because I believe that Sakura's story has some of the greatest potential in all of Naruto, though it never lived up to it. See, because like we've already established, there's 3 major issues with how Sakura is written, at least so far as people who dislike Sakura have identified. And those are, once again, the fact that she's useless, the fact that she was a bully to Naruto, and the fact that she's obsessed with Sasuke even though he's abusive to her. So if you were to write Sakura in a 2024 sense that addresses these 3 main issues in a way that doesn't take up too much screen time, how would you do it? Well, here's the thing. The reason I said that Sakura's character potential is probably some of the greatest in all of Naruto, though she never achieved it, is because only 1.5 of these 3 reasons ever gets fixed. See, out of these 3 reasons, the only one that ever gets fully addressed, fully fixed, is the fact that she was a bully to Naruto. And ironically, out of these 3 reasons, if I had to choose one to stay for the live action adaptation of Sakura, that's the one I would choose. Why? Because I want Naruto to be bullied into the ground by a girl he has a crush on? No. See, Sakura is supposed to be a walking example to us, the level of ire that people have for Naruto all throughout Konoha. And while it's unfortunate that that's given to us through the medium of really the only important female character in Naruto, which is supposed to make her look like a classic bitchy character, this is an important perspective, and we see a lot of tonal shifts about the public perception of Naruto through the eyes of Sakura. See, because while sure, obviously Sakura makes fun of Naruto being an orphan to another orphan in Sasuke and a bunch of other terrible things, the ire that Sakura feels for Naruto is supposed to be reflective of how everybody else feels about Naruto, and is supposed to show us that even those who get close to Naruto or are forced to be close to Naruto still feel that way. And if Sakura doesn't display this level of animosity towards Naruto, unfortunately, the feeling wouldn't be conveyed really by anybody else. Because think about it. Who else amongst the Konoha 12 really ever hated on Naruto? Hinata had a crush on him. Neji didn't care about him. Sasuke didn't care about him. I mean, he disliked him, but he dislikes everybody. Choji and Shikamaru are some of his earliest friends. Shino just wants to be loved by everybody. Kiba views him as a legitimate rival. And Rock Lee's so busy trying to teach the world his own lesson that he doesn't care about Naruto, as Rock Lee is more focused on people like Neji and Sasuke than he is Naruto. And thus, just like that, the majority of the important characters in Naruto never hate Naruto. And while, once again, I do believe that it's unfortunate that for some reason the only character that had to hate on Naruto was the important female character, without this, the whole narrative that everybody hates me, I have no friends, kind of falls flat. And thus Naruto's perseverance of getting through that hatred and still wanting to lead those people who hate him is substantially less impactful. So while it sounds kind of crazy, somebody has to hate on Naruto for being Naruto. And on top of that, outside of the perspective it gives us into the public opinion of Naruto, we need to see Sakura slowly but surely begin to respect Naruto, not only as a ninja, but as a human and a man, until eventually, and while I do admit that I would have written this moment very differently, Sakura in the Pain arc realizes that they need Naruto to battle against Nagato. A moment of massive respect as she realizes that the only person who can save her from her current situation is somebody who she hated on her entire childhood. And while I would have written this moment like Sakura battling it out against one of the 6 paths of pain and then defeating one of them and having another one jump in behind her, that Naruto pops out of nowhere and stops or destroys, this full circle moment of Sakura displaying the highest level of respect that a human can display for another human being is massive for her character development arc. So yeah, Sakura's got to be a confirmed hater of Naruto. However, I would shift the reason why she's a confirmed hater. See, Sakura doesn't necessarily hate Naruto because he's the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Sakura hates Naruto because he's Naruto. She doesn't necessarily give us the entirety of the perspective we need about how Naruto is publicly received. And thus, since Sakura's parents are not important to the plot, in fact, they never show up in manga canon, I think a substantially easy deviation to her character to make her hate Naruto for the correct reasons would simply to have one, but not both of her parents die the night that Kurama was released, and to have Sakura raised possibly by a spiteful mother another father who's always cursing at Naruto for stealing their spouse. This way, Sakura has a somewhat seemingly justified reason to hate Naruto that's imposed on her by an adult in her life, meaning that the reason that she hates Naruto is entirely her fault, as it was something that was simply drilled into her by a spiteful parent who was sad about the loss of their loved one. And now Sakura doesn't just come off as the bitchy archetype, but instead a complex character raised in a complex situation who can now act as our marker for how the public feels about Naruto directly to his face. And as Naruto continually works side by side with Sakura and she begins to see the human side of him, her perception of him as evil can slowly but surely be dissolved, which is meant to show us on a grander sense how Konoha feels about Naruto. But how does Naruto massage the vitriol that Sakura sees him? Does he do it by saving her a whole bunch like he does in Naruto? No, because like we already talked, American audiences don't want the damsel in distress approach anymore. And this brings us to the second point why people dislike Sakura to this day: her perceived uselessness. And here's the thing, if you perceive part 1 Sakura as useless, I can't really argue against you. She kind of is. Sakura's only real moment of importance is during the Chunin exams when everybody is knocked out in the Coliseum while watching Sasuke and Gaara fight. In this moment, because of her incredible chakra control, she's able to break out of the genjutsu early and break other people out. Outside of that, like I've already established, everything else that happens with Sakura in part 1 of Naruto is basically a detriment to her character. Now, earlier when I said that only 1.5 of these 3 problems was ever addressed, this is the half-addressed problem, because while yes, Sakura does become useful in Shippuden, that is inarguable, to say that she scales anywhere close to either Naruto or Sasuke is a massive stretch. Yes, she's able to battle against Kaguya, and yes, she's the only person out of Team 7 who doesn't receive a 6-path amp, but inherently, those 6-path amps made everybody else in Team 7 much stronger than Sakura. And while she does still play a massive role in this battle without that amp, which is impressive, to say that her level of use is equal to that of Naruto and Sasuke in the 4th Great Shinobi World War is just a bit disingenuous. Would the war have been lost without her? Yes, absolutely, but the war also would have been lost without Minato, Shikamaru, Hashirama, or Ino. But is the goal to make Sakura as strong as Naruto and Sasuke? No, and that's where Naruto goes wrong. See, in part 1 of Naruto, Sakura is objectively useless, and in part 2 of Naruto, she's got a ton of uses. She's strong, she has good chakra control, and she's one of the greatest healers of all time, and that gave her use. However, Sakura's motivation in Shippuden, especially at the beginning of the 4th Great Shinobi World War, was to get as strong as Naruto and Sasuke, as she saw them as a finishing line that she was trying to get to. However, it's rather glaringly presented in Shippuden that she never gets to that finish line, which means that even though Kishimoto switched her motivation from trying to impress Sasuke to trying to get as powerful as Sasuke, she, unlike Naruto and Sasuke, was never able to achieve that goal. So what am I saying? Am I saying that her motivation should stay trying to impress Sasuke? No. See, Sakura doesn't have to be as powerful as Naruto and Sasuke. In fact, within the confines of Naruto as a story, that doesn't make sense. Naruto and Sasuke are the reincarnations of Indra and Ashura, 2 literal gods. Naruto is the Jinchuriki of Kurama, and Sasuke's got the Sharingan. And while Sakura is the inheritor of the Strength of 100 seal, and is one of the greatest healers of all time in Naruto, unfortunately, those are just amps that don't get you on the level of Naruto and Sasuke, especially after they got amps from Hagoromo. And thus, while I'm not saying that we should separate Sakura from the things that make her powerful, like her insane strength, chakra control, and ability to heal, what I am saying is that she should be given the same chances that Naruto and Sasuke got in part 1 to get strong. See, because there's a fair amount of distance between Sakura needs to be as strong as Naruto and Sasuke, and Sakura doesn't need to be dead weight. And right in the middle of that distance is where we need to be. See, we can, with pre-established and canon lore, make Sakura useful in part 1. All we have to do is give her the character development that Kishimoto never did. See, coming out of the Shinobi Academy, Sakura was a shinobi, a baseline shinobi, using clone technique and kunai and throwing stars. And over the course of part 1, she makes a grand total of 0 progress, which is weird because in the Chunin exams, which is only a couple of months after the conclusion of the Shinobi Academy, Kakashi identifies that Sakura's chakra control is next level and that she could be a genjutsu master, something that she does eventually become. And thus, if you wanted to plop Sakura in part 1 somewhere between Godbuster and completely useless, you could just give her the power-up she always should have had. And what's wild is that there's a literal arc where this could have been done very easily. See, because when Naruto was training to learn the Rasengan and Sasuke was training to learn the Chidori, Sakura was picking flowers for Sasuke. Yeah, don't have her do that. When Sasuke and Naruto are out learning with other people's signature moves, have Sakura go to Kurenai, establish her interest in genjutsu and her mastery over it in immediacy because of her chakra control. Sakura is a special ninja, one of the strongest of all time, and the framework for that is set up incredibly early. And since we're shifting Sakura's motivations, don't have her motivations be being as strong as Naruto and Sasuke, because then we just have a dollar on a fishing line and we're slowly working it away from her. Have her motivation be protecting the two most important people in her life. Shift her from the person who needs to be protected to the person who's now getting stronger so that she can fill a gap in the team to protect the two most important people too. Naruto wants acceptance, Sasuke wants revenge, Sakura wants to protect. Those are their core motivations to begin with. That's why Sakura became a medical ninja in the first place. She saw an avenue to power that would allow her to protect the people important to her, and she took it. And thus Sakura could establish the fact that she doesn't believe her ninjutsu is strong enough to bang with some of the higher level threats, but through the usage of genjutsu, she's able to make openings either for herself or her teammates. As Sakura could cast genjutsu on opponents and use the moments when they're in a daze to close the distance between them and crush them. Or if an opponent was about to stab Naruto or Sasuke in the back, Sakura could hit them with a genjutsu that would temporarily stop them so that they could cover their own back. Sakura doesn't need to be as powerful as Naruto and Sasuke, because while that would be cool, it just wouldn't make sense in the grander scheme of Naruto without some other magical addition like the fact that Indra and Ashura actually had a sister or something like that. But that doesn't mean she can't be useful early on. In much in the same capacity that Shikamaru needs Choji and Ino to truly be useful, Sakura can still get into precarious situations as a genjutsu master. God knows it happened to Kurenai, but by giving her an avenue in which she can acquire strength and stand toe-to-toe with some of these enemies that she usually gets trounced by, not only are you giving her more depth as a character, but you're also giving her a spot to exist on the team. All with a grand total of like 3 to 5 minutes of additional screen time, using pre-existing and established lore.
Oh, but Nick, wouldn't this constitute a massive rewrite in Naruto's story?
I mean, like, kind of, but not really. Listen, am I sitting here and saying that Sakura's gonna mop up every person she fights against in the Forest of Death, and therefore Sasuke and Naruto aren't gonna have to step in? No. Moments like Sasuke flying in with his curse mark fully activated and breaking Zaku's arms are important to the story. You can still have Sakura be placed in precarious situations that don't make her a damsel in distress, because a lot of the situations that Sakura's placed in part 1 of Naruto, even if she was twice as strong, she probably wouldn't have made her way out of. But there's a difference between not standing a chance and standing your ground. Rock Lee in the Forest of Death, when he swoops in to save Sakura, is a great example of this. See, Rock Lee, even though he was strong enough at that point to take down Sasuke, wasn't strong enough to beat back the Sound Village Ninja. Rock Lee was still given a definitive better shot at defeating them than Sakura ever was. So with Sakura's new avenue to strength, give her that same level of consideration. Possibly have her and Rock Lee fight side by side and have them lose, but only because of the overwhelming strength of their opponent. It's like the Hulk fighting Thanos in part 1 of Infinity War or whatever it was. Don't take anything away from Hulk's strength, bolster the strength of the opponent. This better helps establish the fact that the curse mark is incredibly broken to begin with, as these two, who are seemingly strong and working together, still aren't enough to defeat people that Sasuke could rather easily defeat. It's better narrative storytelling, and it doesn't change the overall plot of Naruto. Which brings us to our last point. The last and possibly biggest reason that people dislike Sakura, and that is her complete and total obsession with a man who seemingly does not care about her, at least not until pretty deep into Boruto. And this is the only of the 3 reasons that people dislike Sakura that never gets addressed. As while Sakura does swear off her love for Sasuke, she still ends up marrying him. Even though Sasuke's knocked her out, never reciprocated her feelings, used Rinnegan Genjutsu on her, and just outright tried to kill her multiple times. But how would you eliminate this plot point when it's such a large motivator and a core tenet to who Sakura is as a character? Well, fortunately, because you're already rewriting Sakura's motivations to be more protective of Sasuke and Naruto, it'd be relatively easy to tone down Sakura's crush on Sasuke. See, because the real reason that people have beef with how Sakura treats and thinks of Sasuke is because her obsession with him is so forthright. It's so over the top. You can establish the fact that Sakura has a crush on Sasuke in a much easier to digest and standard way. Sakura can play it cool about Sasuke, but when Team 7 is announced to have both Sakura and Sasuke, somebody in a passing comment can say to her, "Oh, I bet you're excited about that," or something, to establish to us that Sakura has a crush on Sasuke. Don't make Sakura have big blowout fights with Ino where they both argue about who's going to get his hand in marriage. Just establish in a subliminal way that Sakura has a crush on Sasuke. You can even begin to build the narrative that one of the core reasons that she wants to protect Team 7 is because of her love for Sasuke, establishing her love for Sasuke to be more romantic, while her love for Naruto and Kakashi to be platonic. And now that Sakura isn't some fangirl falling over herself every time Sasuke does something menially cool, she seems more like somebody who actually cares about Sasuke as a person, in a similar vein to how Naruto cares about Sasuke as a person. See, because here's the thing, and this always confuses and upsets me. See, Sasuke is just as bad to Naruto as he is Sakura, possibly worse, and yet Sakura is the only person who ever gets flack about still loving Sasuke. See, when Sasuke almost kills Naruto multiple times, and yet Naruto still runs back to Sasuke, trying to get him to come back to the village multiple times, nobody yells at him about that, because he's just trying to get his friend back. But when Sakura does something similar, trying to get the love of her life back, for some reason it's a problem. And I think the reason this happens is because there never seems to be a clear reason why Sakura would be in love with Sasuke, when there is clear reasons why Naruto would think Sasuke's his best friend, as the Land of Waves arc has Sasuke saving Naruto's life twice, and them establishing what could be a lifelong bond because of their reliance on each other in those battles. And thus, in this moment, we can see that both Sasuke and Naruto are gravitating towards friendship. But in the case of Sakura and Sasuke, it's more one-sided, as Sakura is just an adamant admirer of Sasuke from a distance, and sure, occasionally Sasuke saves her. This doesn't mean that Sasuke loves her. Sasuke is just her teammate, and therefore saving her is kind of his responsibility. And thus, even though Naruto is in a similar situation, at some point Sasuke established that he did care about Naruto in some capacity. And thus, honestly, the best way to rewrite Sakura and Sasuke's relationship to make it make sense is to establish, even a little bit prior to them being married, that Sasuke might actually like Sakura, that Sakura isn't insane for feeling these feelings. But when Sasuke abandons the village and knocks Sakura out so that he can get away, don't have her shift all the responsibility of getting Sasuke back onto Naruto, because she, like him, should be in a similar situation. The parallel between the two of them should be apparent, because for all intents and purposes, they're in the same situation. And yet, because Sakura just yearns for Sasuke from a distance for 4 years, based off the grand total of one positive interaction they might have ever had, people believe her feelings for Sasuke just aren't justified, and that every interaction that they have while Sasuke is still in Konoha, and especially after he's left it, kind of proves that point. So really, rewriting this aspect about Sakura is much about rewriting Sasuke as it is about her. In the same vein that Itachi was tortured by having to kill Izumi, his girlfriend, draw a parallel to Sasuke struggling to bring himself to face Sakura because he knows he's still in love with her. I mean, we do the same thing for Naruto, don't we? It's very clearly implied by how Naruto and Sasuke interact that Sasuke wants Naruto gone because he knows that Naruto is his only connection left on Earth. I mean, he literally says that when they battle at the end of the Fourth Great Shinobi World War. By killing you, I'll be set free. Well, what about Sakura, who he then, just a couple of months later, goes on to date and then eventually marry? See, disregarding Sakura from the equation of bringing Sasuke back to Konoha invalidates her feelings, and then it makes her seem like a weak-willed throwaway character that she would just get back with a person who hadn't reciprocated her feelings for years and spent trying to kill and abuse her. And this is probably why this is the only non-addressed stress point for Sakura's character as a whole, because this doesn't only require rewriting Sakura, but also rewriting Sasuke. But if we know at the end of Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura end up together, writing a smidge of romance into their story leading up to that point isn't crazy. We did it for Himawari and Naruto, didn't we? We even did it for Sai and Ino. So why is the couple that objectively is the community's favorite not getting the same treatment? Well, it could in the live action. But what do I know? This is just my job. However, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. How would you rewrite Sakura to make her fit in a 2024 live act? Tell me in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. It's fine. I'm not gonna be involved anyway.